Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin were walking through the 42nd Street subway underpass in New York City on a cold November night in 1962, heading back to their hotel after a late dinner, when they heard something that made them both stop mid-conversation. Singing, two young voices harmonizing. Frank looked at Dean. Dean looked at Frank. They followed the sound. At the end of the underpass, sitting on a piece of cardboard against the wall, were two children. A girl, maybe 12 years old. A boy, maybe 8. They were wearing thin coats, no gloves. Their faces were dirty, and they were singing "When You Wish Upon a Star" in perfect harmony. In front of them was an old coffee can with a few coins, and a cardboard sign written in a child's handwriting. "Singing for our mama. She's sick, need medicine and food. Please help. God bless." Frank felt something crack in his chest. Dean's jaw tightened. They watched these kids singing their hearts out to an empty tunnel at 11 p.m. And Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, two of the biggest stars in the world, made a decision that would change everything. They walked over, sat down on the cold concrete, and started singing with them. What happened in the next 2 hours proved that fame means nothing if you don't use it to help people who need it most. It was November 18th, 1962, New York City. Frank and Dean were in town for meetings. They'd had dinner at Toots Shores. Good food, good drinks, good conversation. Around 11 p.m., they decided to walk back to the Waldorf instead of taking a car. Frank liked walking in New York, kept him grounded, reminded him where he came from. Dean agreed. They took a shortcut through the 42nd Street underpass. Long tunnel, dirty walls, not many people at this hour. That's when they heard it. Singing, beautiful singing, two voices blending perfectly. Frank stopped. "You hear that?" Dean nodded. "Kids!" They walked toward the sound. The tunnel opened up into a wider section, and there they were. Two children. The girl had long brown hair, big eyes, thin face. She was holding the boy's hand. The boy had the same eyes, same thin face, same look of desperation mixed with hope. They were singing, really singing, not just going through the motions, singing like it mattered. Frank and Dean stood about 20 feet away, listening. The kids finished "When You Wish Upon a Star," started another song, "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." The girl sang melody. The boy sang a simple harmony. Their voices echoed in the tunnel. Beautiful, haunting. Frank looked at the sign, read it, looked at Dean. Dean had read it too. His face was hard, but his eyes were wet. A few people walked past. One man dropped a quarter in the can. Didn't even slow down. Another woman dropped a dime. Kept walking. The kids kept singing. When they finished, they counted the coins in the can. The girl's voice was quiet. "That's 85 cents, Tommy. We need at least $5 for Mama's medicine." The boy looked like he might cry. "We've been here 3 hours, Mary. Nobody cares." Frank couldn't take it anymore. He walked over. Dean followed. The kids looked up, saw two men in nice coats and hats. The girl stood up, protective, moved in front of her brother. "We're not begging, sir. We're singing. We work for our money." Frank's voice was gentle. "I can hear that. You kids are good, real good. What's your names?" The girl hesitated. "I'm Mary. This is my brother Tommy. We're singing for our mama. She's sick." Frank knelt down, eye level with them. "What's wrong with your mama?" Mary's eyes filled with tears. "Pneumonia. The doctor said she needs medicine, antibiotics, but they cost $5. We don't have $5. Papa left 2 years ago. It's just us and Mama. And Mama can't work because she's sick, so we're singing." Dean knelt down too. "Where's your mama now?" Tommy answered. His voice was small. "At home, in our apartment. She has a fever. She's coughing real bad. We're scared she's gonna die." Dean looked at Frank. Frank looked at Dean. They didn't need to speak. They both knew what they were going to do. Frank smiled at Mary. "You kids sing beautifully. You know that?" Mary nodded. "Mama taught us. She used to sing in church, before she got sick." Frank stood up, took off his coat. It was cold in the tunnel, but he didn't care. He handed it to Mary. "Here, put this on. You're freezing." Mary shook her head. "We can't take your coat, mister." Frank draped it over her shoulders anyway. It's not taking, it's accepting help. There's a difference. Dean took off his coat, put it on Tommy. The boy was swimming in it, but he was warmer. Dean smiled. There now. Let's talk about this singing situation. You kids are good, but you need help drawing a crowd. What do you say Frank and I sing with you? Might get more people to stop. Mary's eyes went wide. You'd sing with us? Frank nodded. If you'll have us. Tommy looked at Dean. But we don't know any fancy songs. Just songs Mama taught us. Dean laughed. Kid, the best songs are the ones people know. Let's stick with what you're singing. We'll harmonize. Trust me. Frank sat down on the cardboard next to Mary. Dean sat next to Tommy. People walking through the tunnel started noticing. 2 men in suits sitting on the ground with 2 kids. Strange sight. Frank looked at Mary. What should we sing first? Mary thought. That's Amore. Mama loves that song. Dean laughed. That's one of Dean's songs. Good choice. They started singing. Dean took the lead. Mary and Tommy sang harmony. Frank added his voice underneath. Rich, smooth. The sound filled the tunnel. People stopped. Really stopped. A crowd started forming. 10 people, then 20, then more. They were staring. Some recognized the voices, couldn't quite place them. 2 well-dressed men singing with street kids. What was happening? They sang That's Amore, then Fly Me to the Moon, then New York, New York, song after song. Mary and Tommy's voices blended perfectly with Frank and Dean. The kids were smiling now, really smiling. The fear was gone, replaced by joy. They were making music, real music, with people who cared. The crowd grew, 50 people, then 100. The tunnel was packed, and people were dropping money in the can. Lots of money, dollar bills, $5 bills, coins. The can was overflowing. They sang for an hour and a half. Frank's voice was getting tired, but he didn't care. Dean's throat was dry, but he kept going. Mary and Tommy sang every song they knew. Then they started making up harmonies, just following Frank and Dean's lead. It was magical, pure, the kind of moment that doesn't happen often. 4 people from completely different worlds making something beautiful together. Finally, Frank stood up. His knees hurt from sitting on concrete, but he didn't show it. He helped Mary up. Dean helped Tommy. The crowd was still there, watching. Frank looked at them. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 children have been singing tonight to buy medicine for their sick mother. They've got more talent in their little fingers than most professionals I know, and they've got more heart than anyone I've ever met. If you can spare anything, please help them. If you can't, just remember that sometimes the best thing we can do is stop and listen. The crowd emptied their wallets. People were crying, pulling out money, $10, $20. One man gave 50. The can couldn't hold it all. Mary and Tommy were crying, shocked, overwhelmed. Frank and Dean helped them count, $640. Mary stared at the money. We can buy Mama's medicine and food and I don't know what to do. Frank put his hand on her shoulder. First, we're going to get your Mama's medicine, right now. Then we're going to make sure she gets to a doctor, a real doctor, not just medicine. She needs to be looked at. Where do you live? Mary gave him an address, a tenement building 10 blocks away. Frank looked at Dean. Let's go. They walked out of the tunnel, the 4 of them. Frank, Dean, Mary, and Tommy. Frank hailed a cab. They all piled in. Frank told the driver to take them to an all-night pharmacy he knew. They got there, went inside. Frank talked to the pharmacist, explained the situation. The pharmacist called a doctor he knew. The doctor met them at the pharmacy, gave them antibiotics, cough medicine, instructions. Then the doctor said, I'll come check on her tomorrow. Make sure she's improving. No charge. They took another cab to Mary and Tommy's apartment. 5th floor walk up, no elevator. Frank and Dean helped carry the kids and the medicine. The apartment was tiny, 1 room, a bed in the corner, and in that bed, a woman, thin, pale, coughing. She opened her eyes when they came in, saw her children, saw 2 strange men. Mary? Tommy? Who? Mary ran to her. Mama, we got your medicine, and these men helped us. They sang with us, and everyone gave money and—" She was talking so fast her mother couldn't understand. The doctor came in behind them, examined Mary and Tommy's mother. Her name was Sarah. The doctor confirmed pneumonia, started her on antibiotics, gave instructions to Mary for care. Frank and Dean stood by the door, watching. Sarah looked at them. Even sick, she knew who they were. "You're Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. Oh my God, what are you doing in my apartment?" Frank smiled. "Your kids sang for you tonight. We just helped out. You've got good kids, ma'am. Really good kids." Sarah started crying. "I tried to stop them, told them not to go out singing. It's not safe. But they wouldn't listen. They said they had to help me." Dean's voice was soft. "They did help you, and now you're going to get better. Doc says you'll be fine in a week with this medicine." Before they left, Frank pulled out his wallet, handed Sarah $500. "For rent, for food, for whatever you need. Don't argue. This is from me and Dean. You take care of yourself. Take care of these kids. They're special." Sarah was crying too hard to speak, just nodded, held the money like it wasn't real. Frank knelt down to Mary and Tommy. "You too, don't ever stop singing. You've got a gift, and more importantly, you've got heart. That's rare. Don't lose it." Mary hugged Frank, hard. "Thank you. We'll never forget you." Tommy hugged Dean. "Thank you, Mr. Dean." Dean ruffled his hair. "You're welcome, kid. Now take care of your mama." Frank and Dean left, walked down the 5 flights of stairs, got outside, stood on the street for a moment. Dean lit a cigarette. "That was something," Frank nodded. "Yeah, that was something." They walked back to the hotel. Didn't talk much. Just thought about those kids, about their voices, about their courage, about how they'd spent hours in a cold tunnel singing for their mother. The story didn't make the papers. Frank and Dean didn't tell anyone. It was just something that happened. A night in New York, 2 kids in a tunnel, and 2 stars who remembered what it was like to struggle. Who remembered that fame and money mean nothing if you don't use them to help people. Stories like this one deserve to be remembered. The moments when legends proved what mattered most. The help given without cameras or headlines. If you want to hear more stories about the people who shaped an era, the humanity shown on cold city streets, and the grace that changed lives, this channel tells those stories. Because these aren't just tales about famous people. They're lessons about stopping to help when everyone else walks past. Mary and Tommy's mother recovered. The antibiotics worked. Within a week, she was back on her feet. She got a job as a seamstress. Mary and Tommy went back to school. They never forgot that night, never stopped singing. Years later, in 1987, Mary was interviewed for a book about Frank Sinatra. She told the story about the night in the tunnel, about Frank and Dean sitting on the ground with them, about the crowd that gathered, about the $640, about the doctor and the medicine, and the $500 that saved their family. Mary said, "People think of Frank Sinatra as this big star, this tough guy, and he was. But that night, he was just a man who saw 2 scared kids and decided to help. He didn't have to. He could have walked right past us, but he stopped. He sat down with us. He sang with us. He made us feel like we mattered. That's what I remember. Not that he was famous, that he cared." Tommy, in the same interview, said, "Dean Martin made me laugh even though I was so scared. He sang these silly voices, made funny faces, kept saying, 'You're doing great, kid,' between songs. Both of them treated us like we were professionals, like we deserved respect. We were just 2 poor kids in a tunnel. But they saw us, really saw us. That changed everything." Sarah, Mary and Tommy's mother, lived until 2001. She was 85. Before she died, she told her grandchildren about that night, about being so sick she thought she might die, about her children going out into the cold to sing for medicine, about Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin showing up like angels, about how they'd saved her life. She said, "The world sees those men as entertainers. I saw them as saviors. They gave my children hope when we had none. They gave us a chance. That's who they really were." That's the Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin story that should be told. Not just the Rat Pack, not just the shows in Vegas, not just the movies and the songs, but the night they sat on cold concrete in a subway tunnel with 2 terrified children and sang for a sick mother they'd never met. The night they turned $6 into 600. The night they carried medicine up 5 flights of stairs. The night they proved that the measure of a person isn't the applause they get. It's what they do when they see someone in need and have the power to help. Frank and Dean had that power. And on November 18, 1962, in a dirty tunnel under 42nd Street, they used it. Not for publicity, not for recognition, but because 2 kids were singing for their mama, and that was enough.